Have you ever walked into a room full of people and felt invisible, like no one really noticed you were there? Have you ever achieved something important, but the moment of pride vanished quickly because that little voice inside whispered, "It's still not enough"? Or maybe you've spent years working hard, giving your best, and yet deep down, you carry the heavy question, "Am I truly worthy?" If any of these questions sound familiar, you are not alone. Almost everyone, no matter how successful, no matter how confident they may look on the outside, has wrestled with the silent pain of feeling worthless. And that's why today's video matters. Because together, we'll uncover not only why this feeling shows up, but more importantly, 6 powerful ways to break free from it. So if you've ever asked yourself, when will I finally feel enough? Stay with me. This might just be the conversation that changes how you see yourself forever. There are 2 things every human being deeply longs for, no matter where they live, what they do, or how old they are. We all want to feel valuable, and we all want to feel hopeful about tomorrow. When those 2 feelings are present, life feels lighter, brighter, and more meaningful. But when they're absent, even the simplest days can feel heavy, suffocating, and empty. Let's be honest. Have you ever scrolled through social media and thought, everyone else has it together? Why can't I be enough? Or maybe you worked hard at your job, only to be overlooked while someone else got the recognition. Or maybe you've poured your heart into relationships and still felt invisible. That's the silent pain of worthlessness. And it's far more common than we admit. But here's the truth. You are not broken. You are not less. And you are not destined to feel this way forever. Worthlessness is not a fact, it's a belief. And beliefs can be challenged, reshaped, and replaced. Today, I want to walk you through 6 powerful methods to overcome feelings of worthlessness. Each method is simple but transformative, grounded in psychology, lived experience, and timeless wisdom. By the end, you'll see that worth is not something to be earned, but something to be reclaimed. Let's dive in. The first key to breaking free from worthlessness is this: create your own reference point. One of the biggest traps in modern life is comparison. From childhood, we're trained to measure ourselves against others. Grades in school, trophies in sports, salaries at work, followers on Instagram, even the size of our house or car. But here's the problem. When your value depends on the shifting standards of the outside world, you will always lose. There will always be someone with more money, more success, more recognition. If your worth is tied to that, you'll spend your entire life chasing the finish line that keeps moving. Instead, you must create your own reference point, your own scoreboard. Ask yourself, what matters to me? What kind of person do I want to be? Take Oprah Winfrey. She grew up in poverty in rural Mississippi. She experienced abuse, rejection, and constant reminders that she didn't belong. For years, she internalized the message that she was less than. But one day, she decided that her story would not be one of shame, but of power. She stopped measuring herself by what others thought of her and started defining her own value. Oprah built a career not by following the traditional path of TV hosts at the time, but by leaning into her authenticity, her ability to connect deeply with people. She created her own scoreboard: impact over ratings, connection over perfection. And today, she's one of the most influential women on the planet. Her story teaches us this: when you create your own reference point, you free yourself from the prison of comparison. Worth stops being something the world gives you and becomes something you anchor within yourself. The second key is this: honor your past achievements. See, the mind of someone who feels worthless has a cruel trick. It erases victories. You do something good, finish a project, overcome an obstacle, achieve a milestone, but within moments, the voice inside says, it doesn't count. You should have done more. That voice makes you forget how far you've already come. Howard Schultz, the man who built Starbucks, grew up in Brooklyn in a poor family. His father worked tough jobs, but after a workplace injury, he lost everything. No health insurance, no support. The family spiraled. Young Howard carried the shame of poverty. He felt invisible, as if society had written him off. But here's what changed him. He began to honor even the smallest steps forward. Every odd job he worked, every scholarship he earned, every door he pushed open. He didn't dismiss those victories, he stacked them, and they built into something extraordinary. When he founded Starbucks, he made sure no employee would feel like his father did, powerless and discarded. That's why he gave healthcare and stock options even to part-time workers. Because he knew what it meant to feel worthless, and he wanted others to feel valued. The point is simple: don't dismiss your wins. Write them down, remember them, let them fuel you. So let me ask, what victories in your life have you rushed past, when you should have paused, honored, and celebrated them? The third method is crucial: separate feelings from facts. Here's the truth. Feeling worthless is not the same as being worthless. But when the emotion hits, it's so heavy that it feels like reality. Think about Michael Jordan. Today, he's celebrated as one of the greatest athletes in history. But in high school, he was cut from his varsity basketball team. Imagine that. Imagine the humiliation of being told you weren't good enough to even make the roster. Jordan admitted he cried. He felt worthless, invisible. But here's the difference. He didn't let that moment define him. He separated the feeling from the fact. The fact was, he was a young player with potential. The feeling was, he wasn't good enough. He chose to believe the fact, not the feeling. And he turned that sting of rejection into fuel. The result? 6 NBA championships, 5 MVP awards, and a legacy of greatness. So here's the lesson. Emotions are valid, but they aren't always true. You may feel like you don't matter, but the fact is you do. Next time that voice whispers, "You're not enough," ask yourself, is this really true or just a feeling passing through? The fourth step is this: learn to set boundaries. One of the fastest ways to feel worthless is to give too much of yourself. Saying yes when you mean no. Letting people drain your time, energy, and attention. Over time, you start to believe that your needs don't matter. But boundaries are how you teach the world to treat you. Brené Brown, a researcher and storyteller, knows this firsthand. She spent years studying shame and vulnerability. At one point, she realized something surprising. The most compassionate people are also the ones with the strongest boundaries. Why? Because when you don't protect your energy, resentment builds, and resentment kills compassion. Brené herself struggled with people-pleasing, with the fear of disappointing others. But when she started saying no, when she started drawing clear lines, something powerful happened. She felt free. She felt worthy. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors with locks. They don't push people out. They simply show people how to come in. So here's the question. Where in your life do you need to draw a line, not to shut others out, but to finally honor yourself? The fifth key is this: live by your own choices. Many of us live our lives on someone else's script. We chase careers to impress parents, make decisions to please partners, or hide parts of ourselves to fit society's mold. And every time you do, you hand over your worth to someone else. Lady Gaga knows this pain. As a teenager, she was bullied. She was called ugly, weird, not enough. Even in the music industry, she faced rejection after rejection. At times, she doubted her value. But here's what changed her. She stopped trying to fit in. She embraced the very things that made her different: her style, her voice, her boldness. And those things, once mocked, became her superpower. Today, Lady Gaga is not only a global superstar, but also the founder of the Born This Way Foundation, helping young people embrace their uniqueness. Her life says loud and clear, the moment you start living by your own choices, worthlessness loses its grip. So ask yourself, whose approval have you been chasing? And what would happen if you finally started living for you? And finally, the sixth step: engage fully in life. Worthlessness thrives when you hide. The more you withdraw, the more that inner voice says, "See? You don't matter." But when you show up, create, connect, and engage, your sense of value grows. Think about Steve Jobs. He built Apple from nothing, only to be fired from his own company. Imagine the humiliation. For a time, he felt worthless, like everything he had worked for was gone. But instead of retreating, he leaned in. He started next. He poured his creativity into Pixar. He engaged fully in the process of creating. And when he eventually returned to Apple, he didn't just rebuild it, he reinvented it. The iPhone, the iPod, the MacBook, they all came after his fall. That's the lesson. Engage, show up. Because the more you do, the more you prove to yourself you matter. So where have you been holding back? And what would happen if you gave life everything you've got? So here's the truth. Worthlessness is not a life sentence. It's a feeling, a painful one, yes, but never a fact. And you have tools. You can create your own reference point. You can honor your achievements. You can separate feelings from facts. You can set boundaries. You can live by your own choices. And you can engage fully in life. You are not invisible. You are not small. You are not less. You are worthy, always have been, always will be. And here's what I want you to take with you as this video ends. Your worth isn't something you earn. It's something you uncover. Every setback you've faced, every mistake you've made, every scar you carry, none of it makes you less. In fact, it makes you more. Because you've survived, you've grown, you've kept going. And that's proof of a strength inside you that no one can measure. So tonight, when you look in the mirror, I want you to say it out loud. I am worthy. I always was. I always will be. Say it until you believe it. Say it until your heart finally catches up with what's been true all along. You don't have to wait for someone else to recognize you. The moment you recognize yourself, that's the moment your life begins to change.